Good.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Shoot the Fence. It's a Boxing Day special, even though it's the 27th today. I'm your host, Stel. I've got three co-hosts. Let's introduce the two regulars. Rhodri Giggs. How you doing, Rod?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good.
This guy like Don Corleone is sitting on that couch. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know where my cigars are. I know it isn't upstairs.
How's your Christmas?
Yeah, it's quiet, it's good. It's okay. Good football yesterday, good today. So yeah, it's been good.
Excellent. Steve, how's your Christmas, mate? I saw you go to Carlisle yesterday.
Yeah, I did, Stel. Merry Christmas, post Christmas. All good, yeah. I made the journey there. It was just an hour and 40 minutes from Manchester. It wasn't high on quality, probably nothing to do with the teams, more so the 90-mile-an-hour winds, which affected the game. And obviously, it was for that reason, it was a game of two halves, and that's why you saw a high scoring 3-3 and Bolton scoring 2 in injury time. So it was quite a thriller.
Yeah, I was going to say they were 3-1 down last time I checked.
Yeah, they just, I was going to say, threw caution to the wind, literally. Pushed bodies forward. Didn't really play too well in the first half. Carlisle are very, very physical. Took advantage with long throws and long balls, it has to be said. But it worked for them, and Bolton didn't cope. And then in the second half, the substitution by manager Ian Evatt, a defender for an attacker, as you would imagine, and all the impetus went Bolton's way, and you just thought they were running out of time. But then when they got that second goal, they got one just before half-time. They got a second one about 85 minutes. You just did get that feeling that they were going to go and get an equaliser, and they did.
And I saw you got a lot of plaudits on social media again. What have you been up to?
Well, just went with the enthusiasm of the comeback, really. And probably what I did do, I was brave enough or stupid enough at 3-0 to say that this game will go 3-3. So I got that one right. I don't always, but obviously it did, and would have been really interesting to see another 5 minutes. I think that it was for the I follow, so all the supporters that don't go to or can't get in the game. There was Carlisle supporters in the ground yesterday, so it was great to have a bit of noise in a stadium and some energy in it, and obviously the people. So that was great. But they were just home supporters. So I think all the Bolton supporters just pay the £10 and watch it through the computer. And like I say, at 3-0 down, I think everybody thought it was potty, but I suggested it would go to 3-3. So I was quite pleased with that one.
Excellent. Brilliant. Top stuff, mate. Right, we have a debutant, Jak, from the Touchline Hotspurs podcast. Is that what it's called? Touchline Hotspurs?
Yeah, Touchline Hotspur. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ, we've known each other for a few years now. This is the first time you've been on the show. Shame on me. How you doing?
Yeah. I mean, after the result, we just had not in exactly great, but otherwise, good Christmas so far. So I think that's the only
good to hear, man. How's the new podcast going? Because I know you're doing it with Tobes, isn't it?
Yeah, we're with a few guys from the Touchline Fracas group. So yeah, just good. It's a good pod. Normally on Thursdays, and yeah, we were pretty happy before, but now the podcast, the sort of direction the podcast or no one's exactly happy right now.
Can imagine. All right, guys, all right, too. Let's get this Spurs game out of the way then, because I know you want to get a lot off your chest. You drew tonight against Wolverhampton Wanderers. You're a goal up, and then the last 5-10 minutes they pulled it level. In terms of the overall display, first 20 minutes you were all over them.
Yeah.
And I thought you guys were going to run away with it. In all fairness, Wolves haven't been the same defensively for a while. I know they've gone back to defensive 3-man trio. But last 20 minutes, mate, I don't know whether it's fatigue or whether you guys maybe just run out of ideas, but you can't kill teams off at the moment.
I mean, you say last 20 minutes. I think it was the last 60 minutes, to be honest. We have this tendency to, once we score, that's it. It's sit back, keep a hold of it, let them have the ball. And I feel as though a lot of these games are training exercises to hold on to a lead, and you can't afford to be doing that in this league. And for the first time when we scored that goal early on, for the first time we actually tried to go for it again, and that was quite rare for us of late. So I thought, this might be a change of approach. This might be a different direction that we're going in. Different formation, obviously, through at the back. I thought it was a very positive lineup, positive performance in the first 20 minutes. And suddenly, within a flick of a switch, we decided to drastically reduce the intensity and let them have it. And a goal was inevitable. You cannot defend a 1-0 lead for 80 minutes. And again, we did this against Palace. Every time we went forward against Palace, we looked threatening. We looked like we were going to score. But as soon as we got that goal, we just suddenly shut down completely. And Palace got back into the game, scored. And when Palace equalised, we obviously ramped up the intensity and we looked like scoring again. Guaita had a brilliant game. And it's just, I don't think Jose trusts these players to keep that up. I don't think he trusts the players defensively that we've got. Obviously, Ben Davis, Davinson Sanchez, Matt Doherty, they haven't been great defensively. And I think he wants that protection in front of them to sort of guarantee that. It hasn't worked though. You can't approach games like this against everyone. You can't, it's not a one size fits all policy. You have to switch it up a little bit against these teams. And when Kane and Son aren't performing, we don't have other players to chip in and step up. So we've got to play a different way, but we can't. We're not doing it right now.
But this is 4 games without a win. Your last win was against Arsenal at the beginning of the month. And what I noticed about you guys this season, probably up until the Arsenal game, you were constantly going forward. Now, I know that was your downfall against West Ham, where you blew the lead. But at the same time, the games that you played recently, Palace, once you went a goal ahead, you're sitting back. Against Liverpool, okay, I can understand that style of play, but you had opportunities. Blimey, the past 2 games, though, crikey, I don't know what to say about Spurs. Beginning of the season, especially the run that you were on, I was thinking these guys could be title contenders. And we were even saying they've got that little bit of steel in them. But now you're saying to me, as a Spurs fan who obviously watches every single minute of their games, that you're lacking something up front when Son and Kane aren't performing. My question is, what's going on with Gareth Bale then?
His legs are gone. He doesn't have the off the ball work rate to play in a Jose team, and he doesn't have the athleticism to play on the break. He just doesn't. We need that third player to make those runs in behind, get the ball and run at defenders when he has grass and on the pitch, when he has grass right in front of him. He doesn't have that anymore. And I was hoping we would get him in a sense of he'll provide that quality in the final third when we do have the ball. But we're not playing the kind of football that allows him to utilize that. We're relying on the players' athleticism. And I think Ndombele was our best player today. His runs, his bursting forward, and his physicality and his pace was integral today. And once we took him off, the goal was definitely coming, because Wolves, that was their biggest threat. We took him off and Wolves came on, added numbers going forward, and they eventually got their goal. It was a set piece, which has been a problem all season. And again, I think there's players in every part of the pitch that we're missing. It is that right winger. It's that creative box-to-box midfielder, I think, that needs to play alongside Højbjerg, and a centre-back or two, because I don't think the centre-backs aren't good enough, number one. And I think we need one good athletic centre-back to allow us to push up the pitch a little bit more, who has a bit of pace about him, so that we can actually play some football. And that's why I think we're playing this way, because Jose doesn't trust them at all, which doesn't make sense to me, but that's where we are.
It's interesting you say that, because in the summer we were saying that Spurs probably had the best window in terms of bringing in players that they require, because they identified key areas that they were lacking: left back, right back, centre midfield, and obviously an extra forward man that had in Gareth Bale. But Rod, you laughed when you mentioned Gareth Bale's legs being gone. I know that he's a Welshman as well, but I can kind of see, no, I wouldn't say kind of see where Jack's coming from, because I think in the last show, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but I did say that against Leicester, the only standout thing Gareth Bale did was tie up his hair. But Rod, you laughed. Why?
Just on the pure fact that he played for Wales, who the Wales manager was, the United needing players, good players, and if he was a world-class player and he was reliable, he would have been at Manchester United. There was no doubt about it. But obviously, he's seen something, and you've seen it. He just can't. He just can't play in the Premier League. It's impossible for him. He can't play in La Liga, never mind the Premier League. So I just think, it's just like Jack said. It's a weird one, because he's not a hard-working player. He's not going to be up and down and put the work in, which you need to be in a Jose Mourinho side. So it's kind of a luxury player, and you've kind of seen that with Jose. He's obviously seen it, and because he's not really played. He's and when he has played, he's played 60 minutes, and then now he's supposed he's injured again. So it's a big wage bill for someone that, you know, I laugh because, yeah, like I said, if he's any good, he would have been at Manchester United.
Yeah, I see your point. Now, Steve, let's talk about Jose quickly, because every time Spurs get a bad result, he's always the first person on our lips. Now, what I saw tonight of Spurs in the past couple of games reminds me of the Jose Mourinho at Man United his last few months. Now, back in the last season, we were saying perhaps he doesn't have a plan B, perhaps he's a busted flush. And here we go at the beginning of the season, all of a sudden people are talking about him being, you know, one of the best managers in the world again, because Spurs turned the corner. But again, past few games, apart from the negativity, there's got to be a lot more than that, surely. Jack even said that they look dead on their knees already.
Yeah, I think he came to Tottenham. I think he was a breath of fresh air for himself. I think the Tottenham documentary on Amazon helped him. The way he flushed out Danny Rose, the way he went about his business. All of a sudden, people were talking about him that he's a serial winner. I think you're seeing, you know, it becoming an open field at the top of the Premier League now with Brendan Rodgers. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp, Coach of the Year again. Pep Guardiola, you know, question marks. Is he on the decline? You know, Ancelotti into the Prem, it's a very big open field. And then all of a sudden, Mourinho was getting mentioned in their names again, and quite rightly so, because of his previous work at some of the best clubs in the world. And then obviously the Manchester United failings this season, which are now starting to really, really accelerate and improve rapidly. But during that time, people were saying, well, maybe Mourinho wasn't that bad. He delivered the Europa League. He delivered a Wembley Cup final win in the League Cup. He had Ibrahimovic playing. Maybe we got rid of him too early. So his stock rose again. Then he got a couple of really good shutout Tottenham results and performances. Beat Arsenal. Obviously beat Manchester City comfortably. And his stock was as high as it had been probably for 5 or 6 years still. Now, what's happened? Just like you can't play champagne football consistently, I don't believe you can play shutout football consistently. Now, he was getting lauded for it at the time, or typical Mourinho performance, typical Mourinho result. And I was happy to go with that because credit where it's due. But equally, the Premier League's an unforgiving contest, and you cannot just continue to have like amazing football, which is not him, which is like Liverpool and Manchester City. They've proven you can't. And you can't have shutout football, which is Mourinho consistently, because it's just so hard to do. And I just do believe, though, that every face of the football clubs that he works at ends up being miserable. And it starts off with the supporters, then it transfers to the players. It obviously all comes from him and his staff. As much as he's tried to get a Tottenham emblem in there, we've discussed it before, Ledley King and that. I only actually now from this point see decline, whilst I was more than happy to champion them when they were getting them shutouts and they took City, not apart, but they give them a bit of a doing, I think, which was fair. Actually, from this point, I don't see them rising again to where they were 7 weeks ago. I really don't.
Did you find it a bit odd that they went 3 at the back today?
Well, when you've got good players, and you know, you sometimes play to your strengths and, you know, hide your weaknesses, but you've also got to plot the opposition's strengths and weaknesses as well. And if you have got a squad of 20, 22, some have got 24 players, you have actually got different players that suit different systems that'll, you know, help you win football matches. But there aren't that many.
Sorry, Stel, do you think he does that to protect Dyer?
I did initially, Rod. Yeah, I did, and because everyone was saying he was playing so well, but they were playing 5 at the back, and he had there was no space around him. The worst thing, you know, space is his enemy, Dyer. You know, so I think he's been a benefactor. That's why he can't play midfield. If space was kind to him, he'd still be playing centre midfield. So he's moved into the back, and he's got bodies around him. It all looks nice and snug for Dyer. But if you put him, you know, a space around him or in front or behind him, you can likely rub him and you'll get something from him. So even though he's an England international and played in World Cups and that, I just think all the time he's masking Jose Mourinho. He's masking problems as opposed to playing to the strengths. And there's only so much counter-attacking that Son and Kane can do, with Kane being in centre midfield, passing it to Son and Son scoring a goal. A, it's hard to do. B, you're going to run out of legs doing it, trying to do it every game. And C, the opposition are onto it as well. So I actually think for now, Tottenham are completely stuck, and that's where they are now. They're not actually in decline yet, but they're just slightly, and they're just stuck in the mud.
Jack, when you saw Reguilon at left back and Ben Davies as the left-sided central defender, I'm sure you thought, well, it's probably because Semedo and Traore are so good down that right flank. But then you look at the rest of the team, you're thinking, well, where's the creativity coming from? Because you said with Ndombele, he was fantastic up until he went off, but the rest of the team just wasn't performing. Now, is this a confidence issue? Is this a personnel issue? Or is this also a managerial issue in the sense that Jose Mourinho was happy to have a 1-0 victory and just hold it, really?
I think it's a combination of all of them, really. But I think in terms of personnel, Ndombele was our only creative outlet in that team, and you saw in the game how he was our best player. But obviously, Lo Celso has been out; is going to be out for the whole festive period, and we haven't replaced that Eriksen kind of player. We haven't replaced that player that's got that incisiveness in that final third, and that's something that I guess Harry Kane has been filling that void in the first few months of the season. But now that obviously, like Steve articulated pretty well, teams have clocked on, teams are shutting it down, and they're not letting him turn anymore whenever he gets into that space in the middle of the park. And so, yeah, it is a personnel issue. I think we will create more chances the more we have the ball, obviously. But, we still don't have the personnel. I think Harry Winks, he's someone that should have kicked on from the beginning of his career. He hasn't. He's actually regressed. He can't play on the half turn like he used to, which is strange considering the games against Real Madrid, the game, even in the Champions League final, although we were poor that game, he was our best player, arguably, him and Danny Rose. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing, but he doesn't know how to pass the ball forward anymore. And that's gone out of his game completely. And I just think he's surplus the requirements. He's not good enough to be in this side, even when he has to deputise, he just hasn't performed. So yeah, for me, it is a personnel issue, and I think that is why Jose is playing this way until he gets his players. Like Steve said, we're not going to get any better, to be honest.
Well, look, you got Fulham next.
Sorry, Stel. With Ndombele as well. I don't think I've ever watched Tottenham. I know he's their most creative player. I don't think I've ever watched him finish 90 minutes. He always seems to bring him off. Now, I don't know how he's going to get a fitness for 90 minutes if he keeps on bringing him off after 60. I know when he comes off, he looks knackered. But, if he's your best player, can't never remember the top teams having the most creative player only play 60 minutes. You've got obviously you play full 90 minutes and be doing that, week in, week out, where every time I watch Tottenham, and he is their most creative player, he's brilliant on the ball, but he only plays for 60 minutes.
Yeah, that's a point, and that needs to be fixed now. That needs to be rectified.
Jack, is that like every game, or is it?
Yeah, it's every game. No, you're right. It's every single game. Normally we have Lo Celso to come on and replace him, but when you don't have him, we're in trouble from that point onwards, and it needs to be sorted out quickly, or else we will struggle indefinitely.
It's like having like a Roy Keane or Patrick Vieira or Kevin De Bruyne going off after 60 minutes. It's the most influential player, and I just find it strange.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Jose has to take that risk of keeping him on and allowing his fitness to excel past 65, 70 minutes now. I don't know how they're managing the fitness yet, but if that doesn't change, then you can't have a £60 million player playing, that can only play 2/3 of the game.
Jack, there was that whole issue during lockdown where Jose was apparently knocking on his front door, telling him to go out for a jog with him. So it appears this is a long-term issue, no?
Yeah, I think he is trying. I believe he is working on his fitness. I don't know if he has the lung capacity or if it's I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it could be. But even when he does run, though, he does look more laboured than he is. And I think that could be playing a part. When when there's a little sprint he has to do defensively, you're all going forward. He does. I think his natural stance does appear more tired than he is, but his fitness still is. It's always going to be an issue until I don't know what I can't put my finger on it, to be honest.
I can, lads. I think if they're not going to be heavy in possession now, you've just covered two things absolutely superbly between you there. That Harry Winks, he wants to play 90 passes a game with a 100% completion rate, which is, you can guarantee you can get a rest with the whole team get a rest if Harry Winks is playing that way. Tottenham are now clearly playing on a sit, wait, and then play on the counter-attack. Now, it's all right if Son's sprinting 100 yards, and it's all right if Kane is sprinting 110 yards because he's actually dropped in even shorter. But then the rest of the team have got to try and get up behind it up to the halfway line too, and you don't actually get a rest is when you have heavy possession. Now, when you get heavy possession is normally when you're 2 or 3-0 up and you start keeping the ball for long periods. It would appear to me, from an outsider looking in, Tottenham never really get 2 or 3-0 up often, which is hard anyway, we know, but they don't. So they don't have long spells of possession, which is the reason Harry Winks is struggling. It's the reason that Bailey's struggling because there's no way he can counter-attack anymore for 75 minutes. And Rhodri there suggesting quite rightly about players coming off. If you're just like going from 0 to 100, like in a car, and just constantly sprinting up the pitch from a waiting position, ideally you want to get to 20, 30 passes at a time, like City did against Newcastle. You didn't see anybody from Man City tired yesterday, and Liverpool tonight against Sam Allardyce's West Brom. I know it was 1-1, but they were getting up to 50 passes at a time. That's where you get your rest. It would appear to me Tottenham don't play possession football, so consequently never get a rest. And that's why certain players are not progressing, which is Winks, and certain top players have to come off because they're absolutely knackered from sprinting from their own 18-yard box to the other teams.
No, that is true. And yeah, especially today, it was most evident today, I feel, when he was making those bursting runs forward and being our best creative outlet. He had to sprint back again.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Wolves obviously had all that space to bring that ball forward.
And if he was in the Liverpool team, he'd be having 30 passes out of 60 every 20 minutes. And he'd be just enjoying himself and he'd be getting a rest. Tottenham don't rest with the ball ever. They either rest in shape or they sprint up the pitch, but they actually don't rest in possession.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It does make sense, to be fair. Yeah.
Jack, in closing with Spurs, right? You got Fulham next, and then you got Leeds before Mourinho in the FA Cup. Now, obviously, it's that time of year where games come thick and fast. Can you see yourselves getting a win against Fulham, given their decent form at the moment?
I think us being at home, and I know the way in terms of the style of play and the approach that we bring, we should be on the front foot for that Fulham game. And if we are on the front foot against teams like that, we will score. We saw against Palace, every time we did go forward against teams that far down in the league, we're fine. We have, we can create. There's no issue with that. And we just need to be a bit more clinical, I guess. But, with that, you have to keep playing like that. You're more likely to score. That level of clinicalness will increase the more you play that way. But so I can't see us playing the way we did today against Fulham. So we should get the 3 points. We can't not really, can't afford to. Leeds is a different kettle of fish. I feel we will approach that differently, and I'm not sure we'll get the 3 points. I'm not sure. I think we will struggle at Elland Road. I can't see us that being an easy ride at all.
Oh man, come on the show and you're depressed. I feel sorry for you, man.
Pitch looked terrible. Pitch looked terrible at Elland Road today as well.
Did it just? We're so used to these perfect pitches these days. In years gone by, a Christmas Boxing Day pitch that would have looked pristine, but because of the pitches these days, didn't it look so bad? The pitch today.
Oh no, it looked really bad.
Yeah. Well, you played on a few of them yourself, I know, so you'd know, but.
I play on anything these days. Don't worry about
that. Luton's plastic pitch, hey? Fucking hell. Can overthrow it. Right, let's talk about Leeds then. They beat Burnley 1-0. Rod's best mate, Patrick Bamford, scored the winner. It's his 10th league goal of the season. I think he's level with Calvert-Lewin and Jamie Vardy, which is pretty decent.
Have I told you before? He looks like a goal scorer.
Yeah, he scored in the 4th minute and didn't do anything else for another 86. All right, okay, fair enough.
That's all he's paid to do, score goals. That's all his job is.
Fair enough. Well, Rod, Sean Dyche, your mate, he was a bit, what's the word, bitter at full time. He was saying that, the penalty shouldn't have been given. Barnes had a goal that was chalked off, which shouldn't have been chalked off. Now, I'm not trying to be funny, but Leeds were the better team in the first half. But let's be 100% honest. Burnley second half, they really gave it a go. Although I don't think they really tested the goalkeeper much. For me, there was one great chance from Rhodri Giggs on the edge of the 6-yard box. So the ball didn't forward quick enough for him. He just blasted it over. But I don't think Burnley were knocking at the door too hard, were they?
No, but he's got a point with a disallowed goal because it's just embarrassing. The kid we was talking about it last. I'm sure we talked about it last week or the week before, where the keeper's come out with the knees up, straight in the back of him, and it's been disallowed because the foul's on the keeper. It's just you can understand it. It's just a joke. But Leeds won't probably won't have played many teams like this season. They're probably used to it last year at the Championship where with the 4-4-2, they're quite physical. Burnley. It was a game of two halves. Leeds played well first half, but Burnley come on strong in the second half. But like I said, that disallowed goal, it was just an embarrassment. And we talked about the pitch as well. The pitch didn't help. The way Leeds had to get it down and play probably benefited Burnley more, even though Burnley do get it down and play a little bit. But yeah, the disallowed goal was just an embarrassment. And for VAR not to change it and to put it right, it just makes VAR a joke because you can clearly see the keeper. He's kneed him in the back and he's dropped it. I think it's me. He's looking at the ball. He's doesn't even know the keeper's there. So you can understand Sean Dyche's grievance. And I'd be probably the same. Be knocking down the door, the referee after the game and having a very quiet word.
Well, the thing that got me most was when he said that if that foul by Nick Pope on Bamford was done on the halfway line, it wouldn't have been a free kick. But I seem to remember Lundstrom the other day against Brighton doing practically the same thing, winning the ball but going through the player, and that's what Pope did. So it's a penalty. Yeah,
he's wrong. It's a penalty. Yeah, Bamford. Yes, he's got the ball, but he clearly took him out, and it's a free kick anywhere on the pitch. So yeah. He's talking rubbish there.
Jack, the other day, Steve and I were talking about Bielsa and how maybe he hasn't got a plan B in the sense that he just plays the same way. But today we saw a much different Leeds United. They played 3 central defenders. Second half, they looked very, very lethal on the counter attack. Granted, they didn't take their chances, but they looked like scoring more than Burnley. What do you make of Marcelo Bielsa at the moment? Because I know people saying that he's a breath of fresh air and we've heard all the rhetoric about him, but at the same time, they're doing pretty well given their resources and given their style of play. And as Steve quite rightly said, their pitch is more like a cabbage patch, isn't it, at the moment? They're 10th in the table, I think.
Yeah, I think he does rightfully get praise for his approach in a lot of games and the style of play, which is obviously easy on the eye. I think a sign of obviously a top manager is someone that will adapt his style a little bit. I think we saw it was quite evident in the second half, his the approach, the way the game went, and obviously Burnley stepping up a little bit. But I mean, I don't know how they keep up, because in the Championship last season, from what I gather, I haven't watched them every game last season or whatnot, but they do keep that intensity, somehow manage that intensity throughout a season. And, I'm not sure if that is sustainable in the Premier League or not, but that, being 10th in the league, you can't complain if you're a Leeds fan at all. I just think if Bielsa could adapt some of his tactics in specific games where he manages the intensity well, obviously plays at a high intensity in certain minutes of the pitch and then slows it down, lets the other team have it a little bit. I think Leeds could actually progress a little bit further if he does it right. But it's just a matter of whether he's stubborn enough to do it or not.
I agree, mate. And Steve, Bielsa said something quite interesting at full time. He said that when a team dominates play in the first half, there's usually a reaction in the second half in the sense that they try and get a second one. But he complimented Burnley by saying that because of the way that they played, it prevented Leeds from effectively going and getting a second goal. Now, again, back to our discussion the other day in terms of Bielsa's style of play, he did seem a little bit more pragmatic in the second half. Does that kind of dispel our statement that they don't have a plan B?
I'm not sure. He made attacking substitutions. Poveda came on and got an effort goal straight away, bringing pace into the action. I don't think the pitch played well in terms of what we expect from a Premier League game now, where you can get up to the 18-yard box and you can wait for a moment and push a nice little pass, a measured ball for a timed run from a forward. I don't think the pitch was obviously the opposition are trying to stop you as well, but I don't think the pitch was allowing that. It was very blood and guts, I thought, today. I thought it was wholehearted, a very British encounter of not the top level where we know what that is, elite football, but, somewhere in the middle. I really thought that was a blood and guts encounter. I saw Sean Dyche tapping his watch at full time after the whistle to say to the referee, he must have said it 15 times, what time can I come and see you? What time can I... He must have done it 15 times, and the referee and his officials never flinched. And I just think Bielsa, I just can't really work him out still. So I can't commit to what he is. Somebody that's got promoted, somebody that has a young, fit team, somebody that's 10th in the Premier League. I think it's great, but I think a lot of it is flawed. I don't like the fact that he doesn't speak a word of English, which is his choice. Seems a little bit strange that he lives on top of a newsagent, but I'm not going to hold that against him. But that's his choice. Sipping on the brew, looking down at the floor, never looks at anybody in the eye, sitting on the ice box, always the interpreter that does all the work. I don't know how they do it, but they can be well pleased with what they've got. And I do think there's a certain point in the game, though, still at 1-0, you can suss it out with all that experience and think, we're possibly not going to score again here. Let's make sure we don't concede. And the highlight for me as an Englishman was the performance of Calvin Phillips in another position, which shows his development for club and eventually country, because I think he could be one of those quite easily that leapfrogs. We've mentioned already before, Winks of Spurs. There are others, but I think he could leapfrog 4 or 5 and end up with 50 caps in the next 5 years quite comfortably.
Yeah, very cavalier footballer, very confident on the ball.
Mm-hmm. I think so. So yeah, so Bielsa, I take my hat off for that, but I still don't see a plan B. But obviously, I think the players recognise that was a scrap today. I'm not sure that they were flying forward as a team as much as they have, even as much as they were at Old Trafford. Sometimes you've obviously got to, you play for your manager in his orders, but you also play what the game gives you. And I think basically everybody concerned with Leeds today got in front and stayed in front, and that's how they've got the 3 points. Simple as that.
That's right, mate. And Jak, Leeds' next opponents, West Brom, got a cracking result at Anfield tonight. They went a goal down quite early, and I'm sure you, just like me, believe that it'll be another 7-0 pasting like what Liverpool gave to Crystal Palace. But we spoke about the Big Sam theory, not the Big Bang theory, and it looks like he's already starting to get the ball rolling in terms of West Brom's resurgence or turnaround. I know they got walloped last week against Aston Villa, and I personally thought that was it for them. Their confidence will drop, but hey, what do I know? Big Sam seems to have done a great job at Anfield. In fact, I think he's the last manager that won at Anfield, if I believe. I think it was against Crystal Palace back in 2017.
Yeah, and it's the first time an opposition team has had more shots than Liverpool at Anfield since us in 2018.
Wow, I did not know that.
February 2018, so almost 3 years. But yeah, I don't get the criticism that managers like Big Sam and Tony Pulis get. I mean, they have their purpose. They do a job and they do it well, and they keep, their purpose obviously is to keep teams in the Premier League and be steady Eddie in that league, and they do it so well. And do you want to talk about the social media agenda against these managers? Yeah, I mean, they have their level. I get that. They're not the be-all, end-all. They're not going to win you Premier League titles, Champions Leagues or whatnot, but they do serve their purpose at the end of the day. And, I think teams like Arsenal are struggling could have done with Big Sam, to be honest, even though they did. It was a good result. We'll get to that. But I think, he is there for a specific purpose. And I just feel I don't know if there's a level between West Brom and the sort of a mid-table team that he should like propel to, that he could actually, I don't know if there's a team in the Premier League that can provide him with that.
He's tried that with Everton. They got rid of him. Everton's probably the nearest thing you're looking for there. So he did have a go. It was 3 years ago since he took that job. But I agree with you what you're saying. But he has had that opportunity at Everton and Crystal Palace.
Yeah. I mean, I still think for his level, he is a good manager. But again, like we'll say someone like Roy Hodgson, he has a level, and he has a role. He has a purpose. And even though Palace haven't been great of late, I think that they do have a certain threshold, some of these managers, for where they need to be, and they can get the best out of a certain group of a certain level of players.
That's a fair point. Rod, let's talk about Liverpool quickly. Matip went off injured. That's another one on the injury list. But the thing is, I've seen a lot of criticism leveled at the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold tonight. Apparently, people reckon he was quite complacent. Liverpool had a lot of opportunities, though. So I'm not too sure where all of this brouhaha has come from. Okay, these things happen. Of course, they're the favourites to beat West Brom. But at the end of the day, West Brom went to the Etihad and got a point. So it isn't a disaster, is it? And they're still top.
No, it's not a disaster, but with being 1-0 up and having the numerous chances they had, you've got to give credit to West Brom as well. They did play better in the second half. They did have a 1-on-1. They did have chances themselves. So it's just a poor game for them in the end, because like I say, you'd expect them to beat West Brom. Yes, Sam Allardyce is coming. Yes, you expect a reaction from them, but Liverpool are far too. Well, we would have thought that they would be far too strong for West Brom. But like I said, you've got to give credit to West Brom. They did well. They come out there with a good point, and a good result in the end. Big Sam has broke the code and probably rubbed Klopp up the wrong way. So yeah, it's a good result. Good result for West Brom. But yeah, it's definitely 2 points drop for Liverpool.
Agreed. Steve, Liverpool faced Newcastle next, and Newcastle went to the Etihad, lost 2-0. It could have been a lot more, couldn't it? But again, look, another clean sheet there with that Diaz-Stones combination, and no Kyle Walker either due to COVID.
Yes, it does look like the back four is starting to have some type of consistency about it, albeit, even though I say that Kyle Walker not being in it, you'd expect him to be in it. But for a start, you'd go to every Manchester City game and not know what the centre-half pair was going to be. Now you know it's going to be Diaz +1. So that's an improvement from where they were 6 months ago. We've worked out that Mendy's pretty much never fit, and when he comes back, he largely disappoints. So Ake had another goal there yesterday. But the interesting move of the game was obviously nothing new about John Stones' recent form. I'm not going to go overboard about it. I think City have loads of ball. He's still got his defending to do, but I think there are centre-halves in the Premier League like James Tarkowski and Ben Mee, for instance, who have to defend for 90 minutes. John Stones has to defend in a different way, but, largely the whole game is in front of him and not behind him. But, credit to getting his confidence and his form back. But it was the role that, Guardiola's getting some plaudits again for the role that he gave Cancelo yesterday, which is obviously to line up with a back four, but push him into centre midfield areas, into either side of centre midfield sometimes, certainly push him off the back line into the midfield line, leaving a three at the back of Stones, Diaz and Ake, and allowing Cancelo to be a spare player in midfield for overloads, stopping counter-attacks, the rare times they happen. And as we saw yesterday, pretty much serving some good balls into the front lads. So it was an excellent game for Cancelo, and Guardiola gets a lot of praise for the role in doing so, because people are saying it was shades of what Guardiola has done at all his great teams. but possibly hasn't done here at City for a while. But he did it with Philipp Lahm for sure. I'm not saying that Philipp Lahm and Cancelo are the same player, but he certainly was the clear man of the match, Cancelo, yesterday. So the manager's got to take credit for that as well.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny, that tweet that Jamie Jackson put out about John
Yeah.
Stones, because the other day you were saying about how Guardiola was always coaching John Stones and all that.
Yes.
But Jamie Jackson's tweet was, Guardiola yelled John. He looked at him and just did a U-turn and completely ignored him.
Maybe Jamie Jackson listens to your podcast, Stel. I'd recognised it ages ago that John Stones' worst form for the club over a 15-month period was when Guardiola was bringing him over to the touchline to teach him how to play centre-half while the ball was still in play almost every week. It coincided with everybody saying, oh, look at this manager. He's a genius. He never stops coaching. They never said anything that John Stones' form went down the toilet. Now, all of a sudden, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. He was constantly doing it with Sterling at half-time, always grabbing him in front of the camera, coaching him down the tunnel. He was always putting thumbs up with De Bruyne, which is fine there or thereabouts. But the annoying one was what he used to always drag Stones to the touchline and take him out of position, take his mind off the game just to give him some one-on-one counselling and coaching. It made Guardiola look a genius in the eyes of the media, not for me. And it made Stones' form go downhill. That is a certainty. Thankfully, that's all settled now. Laporte is the one who looks like he's got his nose out of joint, but the one who's growing every game is John Stones. So it's good. And again, just like I said about Phillips of Leeds, it's good for England. And did you also notice that challenge that Stones put the knee in the back? But Newcastle got their own back in the second half when Andy Carroll came on and welcomed him immediately to the game with a forearm into John Stones' temple, but he quickly got up and City kept the clean sheet, which they've been doing brilliantly this season.
That's right. And Jack, Steve Bruce, we've heaped praise on the guy, given the resources that he's got in Newcastle and how they've performed, especially this season. But his post-match comments confused me a little bit, because he was talking about the bad performance midweek against Brentford, which they lost in the Carabao Cup. And he said he wanted a response from his team, and he got that, but they could have got mauled. It was an embarrassing performance. So I can kind of see why the Newcastle fans are livid with his comments. It doesn't really help him either, does it?
No, and I mean, it's a funny one. He did have that initial spell of good form this season, but I mean, I think when you do come off the back of sacking Benitez, you're going to be under pressure regardless. And any loss, the fans are going to get at you straight away. And he's not helping his own cause by what he said. So he just needs to speak well, I think, right now. He needs to lay low, speak well, or else the fans will get at everything he says. They'll pick on it. And that's what happens when you get rid of a manager like who the fans adored, like Benitez, or you didn't back him.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Right, I believe City's next game is against Everton, and Everton moved up the table, Rod, second place behind Liverpool. 1-0 win at Sheffield United. Sheffield United, I'm starting to feel sorry for them now, because against Man United and Brighton, they're unfortunate not to get anything out of those games. Well, they got a draw against Brighton, but I think they're unfortunate not to win that one. But again, against Everton, they were out of ideas. Same sort of Sheffield United we've seen most of this season. But Sigurdsson got the winner this time, a £50 million signing from, was it Swansea? Was it Spurs they got him from? From Swansea, wasn't he? From Swansea. And his goal was the winner. Look, Ancelotti celebrated his year anniversary with the win. I know they got knocked out of midweek of the Carabao Cup, but again, that's a perfect response. And Everton, again, moving up the table. A few weeks ago, we were saying that they've got no chance of getting top four, but here they are, second place so far.
That's what happens when you bring the CV and the quality of the manager, Carlo Ancelotti. So yeah, he's done good things there. He's brought in some good signings. He's turned some players around. Calvert-Lewin looks really good. Is a good focal point for him and scoring goals and linking up play. And defensively they look solid as well. So yeah, Sheffield United look really poor at the minute. They just have no what's the word?
Anything really.
Yeah, no, just at on the top end where you need someone to nick goals for you. They haven't got anyone. No, they've gambled with bringing Brewster in. He's not proven. Okay, people might say it's not a lot of money, but it is a lot of money for Sheffield United, 20-odd million to a person to come in and he's not really played, and when he has played, he's not really contributed. So it's a big miss. So what do they do in January? Because they got 2 points. Do they stick with it, or do they, just bite the bullet and just try and get out with the players they've got? Because let's face it, now they're probably too far off now. They probably need a miracle, because 2 points at Christmas is that the worst point tally ever? That
At the moment, I think it is.
It's not good. Chris Wilder, he's not a bad manager. He don't become a bad manager overnight, but I think Stes has mentioned certain things with the crowd and things that they relied on last year. He's just not gone for them this year, and the goals have dried up, and along with the result.
Jack, Steve made a really good point the other day about Sheffield United's misfortune. Now, that goal that wasn't given against Aston Villa, they haven't recovered from it. But surely enough time has passed for them to get over that. Now, I get there are no fans at Bramall Lane, and that's obviously made a difference. But Chris Wilder last season, people were saying, well, you know what? He's a top manager and he can probably do it at a bigger club. But at this moment in time, it looks like he's heading out the exit door, really.
Poor recruitment. That's what I think. That's been their biggest downfall this season. Everyone else around them has improved. You've seen how Aston Villa have completely a shadow of the side they were. Well, not a shadow, but a completely different side as opposed to last season. I mean, Ryan Brewster, what was it, 24 million? That's a lot of money on an unproven player in the Premier League, at least. Ramsdale from Bournemouth, 18 million pounds. Again, you're investing in championship quality. Has that that level of? There's not been a big level of improvement at all, and I'm sure these players have been good in the championship, but at this point, you need at least 1 or 2 players, proven players in top leagues that can actually take you forward. And I just think it's down to poor recruitment is a part of it. And I think the players around them probably feel that might be the case, and that is translating, and they don't have that same level of belief because they haven't got the players to propel them any further than what they did. And I feel they did overperform last season as well. In my opinion, I think Chris Wilder got the very best out of them, and I don't know how sustainable that can be over a long period of time, but it hasn't worked this season, and the recruitment hasn't helped as well.
Do you think that's it for him, though, Jack? Do you think they're going to give him the boot?
It's hard to say because of what he's done, but they need a new manager, but they need something. It's gone to the point where they need some kind of bounce. They need points on the board, and they will soon enough. I think another loss or 2. That's it. It has to be the case, I feel.
I don't think if they brought another manager in, he would be able to do anything at this late date, because they've got 2 points. They're well off. Are they going to spend money? Because they've recklessly spent money. Jack said they're 18 million for Ramsdale. There's keepers out there that you could have got for free that are better than Ramsdale. I think we've mentioned Joe Hart sat on the bench, could have got in for a free. There's players out there that you could have probably got better 18 million and spent the 18 million better or elsewhere. Same with the Ryan Brewster, 24 million for an unproven striker. He wasn't prolific in the championship last year, so it was a gamble, and it is that down to Chris Wilder, because on a management basis, you probably stick with him, but on the player recruitment alone this year, the question's got to be asked.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, look, Jack spoke about Sheffield United's recruitment. Now, Steve, if you look at Chelsea and Arsenal, contrasting recruitment methods, I guess Chelsea spent a shit ton of money on starlets. I guess that's the word to use. Whereas Arsenal didn't really go balls deep in the transfer market, but they got a win against Chelsea. Their hoodoo is over, and it's quite funny because the other day we were saying how Sheffield United's fortunes could change on one decision, one result. And the same thing applied to Arsenal, but they got a big victory against Chelsea. But Frank Lampard absolutely threw every single player under the bus, didn't he? He was questioning their commitment, calling them lazy. And look, let's be honest, we've seen numerous big teams in the past play shit on, on Boxing Day for whatever reason. But this was a London derby. It's not as if Chelsea had to travel far. And you know what? We have praised Frank Lampard in the past for what he's done, or what he did with Chelsea last season, given the financial constraints. But this season, there's no excuse. So where does the blame lie for that performance overall?
It's got to be a collective. He's got to look at himself. He'll feel let down by the players, and he'll largely take the defeats on the chin for himself. But he's made sure that everybody's copped for it, because it was that bad and it means that much to the club and the supporters. But obviously, he has to go to bed at night and suggest that age-old quandary that managers have, Stel. He knows that he's done the training all the week. He knows that he's done the preparation and the game plan. He knows he's done the opposition downfall video. He knows he's picked the team to win a game. He knows he's done all the set plays. He knows he's done all the substitutions. So that's all on him and his staff. So he won't be solely throwing it at the team. But then you roll over in bed and you start thinking of the players, how they've let you down, and you'll be thinking, well, I can't play the game for you. I'm not out there playing. I can't run from midfield anymore and burst into the box and score a goal and then get back in my own box and kick one off the line. So he's then, put it back onto the players for some ownership and leadership. We were obviously saying that Thiago's come in at the bat silver and been amazing. He's brought the best out of Zuma, who's got the most aerial duel victories in Europe. Chilwell's the next England left back that could threaten Stuart Pearce and Kenny Sansome's caps total. He's settled the right back down with Reece James, albeit that he's injured a little bit at the moment. He can't get the centre forward thing right, it seems. They just keep flirting with him, and that's your worst nightmare. When a footballer flirts with you, it means you're attracted to them, but you can't actually fully trust them. Like a girl, she's flirting with you, but you don't know whether to take her out or not. So, Abraham's had the first go at it, and then because of his legs and his potential, and then it looked like he wasn't the man. Then Giroud comes in and gets 5 goals quickly. And then it's all like, oh, well, we've got to play him. But then the style of play changes because Giroud's in the team. So you start chipping balls up to him because he can handle it, as opposed to going through midfield, and you start slinging balls in from the side because he can score with a header. So they look to me, again, I'm not suggesting I'm a judge of this because I don't watch them every week, but they look like they've got a cross identity still. And they just keep going from style to style, from team to personnel to individuals, and nothing is actually glued together. And which is why that team at the moment, I still think, is stacked with talent, stacked with potential, but absolutely stinks of inconsistency.
Jack, do you think this is an attitude problem then? Because we've seen Timo Werner come in, big transfer fee, big reputation, smashing in the Bundesliga. Can't hit the back of the net, can't score in a brothel at the moment. Pulisic, loads of people on social media, especially the American supporters, love him off because he's one of them. He did fuck all the other day. N'Golo Kante doesn't look like the same player. Jorginho missed a penalty, which, that's the penalty style that he's chosen. But we saw what happened there. Steve quite rightly said, Chilwell and James were absolutely shocking. And Mendy was beaten by Saka, which is a fantastic strike. So, again, where does the problem lie? I'm looking at this Chelsea team and I'm thinking, you're full of individuals now. You haven't got that team spirit. You haven't got that togetherness. And you've seen so many great teams in the past with, star-studded lineups, but yet they've got it right. But at the same time, we've seen teams like the Galacticos not being able to win things because, again, full of star-studded players, too many egos. Is that the situation at Chelsea?
I think part of it is tactical naivety. The number of crosses I'm seeing played from Tammy Abraham to Callum Hudson-Odoi and from the left-hand side as well, when you have a player like Giroud on the bench, you got to play.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
You've got to play to the forward strengths. And with the Werner thing, yeah, he was killing it in the Bundesliga, but the moment he comes against teams that sits anywhere remotely closer to the goal, he's ineffective because he's a very quick player that needs, also a player that needs a bit of time to execute his abilities. I saw in the 2 games in the Champions League last season against us where Red Bull battered us, but Werner was very ineffective that game as well. With obviously Jose putting us in a fairly low block. And he did score the penalty, but he wasn't effective otherwise. And I think, and I also, with some of the misses, there was a big confidence issue. I don't know where that's coming from right now. Is it down to the lack of harmony at the club? I'm not too sure, but it reminds me a bit of when Soldado was with us, when everything every shot in the box was just going over or hitting the bar, open goal, no open goal. It just, nothing was clicking, and that's what I'm seeing with Werner right now. It's just nothing is going his way. He should be playing more centrally. That is his game. Even though he started on the left on paper for Red Bull, he was much more of a central player than he is. He's actually an out and out wide player for Chelsea, which doesn't make any sense. And I just there isn't that level of harmony at the club, and Reece James defensively isn't what Chelsea fans have made him out to be. People say he is that that cross between AWB and Trent, but he really isn't. He's a very good crosser of the ball, very good going forward, but again, that penalty was head loss, and I don't think the players have, whilst they have good ability, they don't have the mentality to maintain composure, or every loss that Chelsea have had this season is chipping away at the players, and I think that they just don't know how to recover from it, personally.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Rod, whenever we talk about Arsenal, we call it the comedy corner, but today I'm going to call it the Cojones corner. The reason I'm going to call it the Cojones corner is because Arteta, not only did he play what a lot of Arsenal fans say are his favourites, i.e. Bellerin, Xhaka, El Neni, he also played Holding and Mari that have never played together as a defensive pairing. And on top of that, he played Emile Smith-Rowe. He dropped Aubameyang, put him to the bench. Okay, I know he may not have been fully fit, but Lacazette played up front as a sole striker. Martinelli played. It was a very youthful front line for Arsenal. They got the win. And what impressed me more about what Arteta said at full time is that a lot of the players were very positive before the game. Now, you don't expect to hear that, especially from a team that is in such dire form, but is this the performance and the result that has given Arsenal that shot in the arm to turn things around? They've got a big game against Brighton coming up.
Well, you'd hope so for the Arsenal fans. They've had a poor run of games of late. And, like you said, it's a great one. I think there's just two different things there. I mean, the mentality of Arsenal players was right, and the mentality of Chelsea players was just the total opposite. If you listen to Frank Lampard's interview afterwards. But yeah, Arsenal have got to go on from this now. They can't beat Arsenal 3-1 and put a performance like that and go to Brighton. No disrespect to Brighton, but Arsenal should have beaten Brighton, and then go and get a poor result. So we need to build on that now, and I think we've seen it with the young players. Some of these young players, if they've got talent, and obviously they have, some of them, Stel say, they've got no fear. And, you put a bit of confidence in them, and we seem to be a confident lad. And you got the performance. That Smith-Rowe looks a really good player. We know Zaka. Is it Zacko? I'm still not having that. Was it?
Chip the keeper.
Zaka, I'm still not having. He didn't chip the keeper. He's a cross. He might have him.
Well, Abraham was a picture talking to him at full time, and he said, "You didn't mean that."
I agree with it. Abraham, that is a shank. not a shank. There was one of Stez's crosses back in the day. He'd run away with his arm up saying he meant it as well, but no, he definitely didn't mean it. It was definitely a cross. But yeah, going back to Arsenal, they need to build on it now. There's a great result. They've got Chelsea on the right day because they were really, really poor for a Chelsea side where they are. They could have gone second. And it was a really poor performance, and the manager is clearly not happy. But Arteta has gone with them lads now. You need to stick with it, and It doesn't matter if the big names or not. Put them on the bench. If they're not performing, put them on the bench. If you've got young talent to come in and perform like they have, then just throw them in.
And Granit Xhaka has kind of extended his stay in the first team, hasn't he, with that free kick?
Yeah, it was a good free kick. You know, Stel will tell you he's got a sweet left foot. He never scored free kicks. So I'll tell you that now. But yeah,
you're getting it tonight, man.
No, it was a good free kick, and you know he's probably in the good side of the Arsenal fans because, like I say, it was a good strike.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, let's talk about Leicester against Man United. Man United missed a heap of opportunities, and the dinner lady could have had a hat trick, couldn't he, Rod?
Say it again, sorry.
The dinner lady could have had a hat trick.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Come on, talk to me. What happened? Because watching this game, I'm thinking at 2-1, Leicester didn't look like they were threatening United, and then that defensive lapse again.
Well, it's not, mate. It's not a defensive lapse. It's good strike.
Oh, come on. They were all standing in the line watching the ball. They had no intention.
It's a split second, mate. But that ball, it's a split second. You've got to give credit where credit's due. Vardy's, it's a good finish. And he's got a bit of luck as well because it's going wide. It's hit the defender and it's gone in. Yes, you'd expect your defenders to stop the cross. That's where it's come from, not the defenders. Because, you know, Vardy, like I say, he's been cute. He's not no mug. He's a world-class striker. And anywhere around there, you know, he does what he does, and obviously he did it for Leicester yesterday. So yeah, it's disappointed. You expect us to go on and win it when we scored in the 80th minute, or whatever. But you know, it's at the end of the day, it's a good point. Leicester up there, you know, we didn't get beat, and you know, with the results around us, with Chelsea dropping points, Liverpool dropping points, so it wasn't that bad really in the end.
Okay. Jack, Rod said that was a good point for United. Now, you saw Leicester play Spurs last week. I didn't see anything different from them. They played exactly how I expected them to play, especially when it came to the press, because they do that so well. Do you think Leicester can continue this fine form and get a Champions League spot come May?
It's hard, again, with Brendan Rodgers' side. It is very difficult to tell that you don't know when you're going to get that kind of performance. You don't know when they'll completely capitulate because they have a tendency to do that. And we've seen it with Liverpool as well. It's a very talented team. I just don't think they have the minerals to keep it. I don't think it's sustainable with the mentality of some of the players they have. But when they're on it, they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. They do have every chance of making a Champions League though, because I think with the way we're playing, and if we don't sign anyone in January, like Steve said, we're stuck right now, and it will get worse if we don't sign anyone. So if there isn't any recruitment, we'll slip down the table. If Chelsea keep with Lampard, and if they keep playing the way they are, and keep having games like this where when they do come against a half decent opponent, there is a tendency to struggle there. Leicester do have every chance, regardless of whether they have whether they bottle it or not, whether they capitulate or not. They have every chance because the teams around them are also struggling. And I think Everton will have another dip in form at some point when they have their run of tough fixtures. So it's all in the open, really. And I think Leicester can do it.
I think the worrying thing for Leicester fans and Leicester of his team is if Vardy got injured, they would be really screwed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think Ndidi is incredibly important in that side as well. His ball winning ability and protection that front of that back four, which allows Fofana to play really well, who's been excellent for them. I think that'll keep them in that running. That'll keep them challenging for that spot. But otherwise, if they do have injuries to Vardy or some of their more key players, then they will struggle.
Big problems. Steve, I don't think anyone anticipated Aston Villa being in the top half of the table, let alone top 8. Their 3-0 win against Crystal Palace, 4th clean sheet in a row. And that was with 10 men when Tyrone Mings got sent off just before half-time, with Villa being a goal up. Now, I can understand why Roy Hodgson was upset with his team, given the fact they played against 10 men second half. But the fact is, it's almost as if going down to 10 men galvanised Aston Villa, and they looked like scoring every time they went forward.
Yeah, I think that would have been rare for Roy Hodgson and Crystal Palace, with the onus on them to actually go out and out, put the foot down to win a game. I think they try and hold. I think they try and defend. I think Danny Murphy always talks about Roy Hodgson being this brilliant defensive tactician that really taught him the game at a certain age. So you know how he sets the team up, and then they have a bit of talent and size up front with Zaha and Benteke, as it's been. Now, you know that Benteke is hardly prolific and Zaha is inconsistent. So you can understand with Easy coming in at Crystal Palace as well that they lack consistency going forward, but they're a strong team unit. But you think with the 10b11, it almost put them in a position that we've got to go and try and win the game now. But I think they train all week and play almost every Premier League game to stay in a game as opposed to trying to win it. So that was possibly a little bit foreign to them. Aston Villa have become, great point before, obviously they've recruited well. We've discussed in the past the Ollie Norwood goal for Sheffield United at the whole end, which was disallowed, saved Aston Villa's season. It kept them in the Premier League. We saw the bottles of beer and the singing, the karaoke in the dressing room. But you got the feeling that almost from that day, the manager, John Terry, Richard O'Kelly, the board, I think there was a sacking in the recruitment and a restructure. They possibly blew the cheeks out and said, right, okay, we've diced there for the second time in 4 years with Premier League survival, safety and nearly exit. Let's make sure this never happens again. They've got themselves one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League with hands and feet. Even though he's not playing for a top 4 team, he's one of the best goalkeepers. They've gone and got himself a young potential centre forward that at the very least runs his legs off and can occupy 2 centre halves for the opposition. That gives Jack Grealish more time on the ball and more space. They brought in Ross Barkley on loan to take more ball and take more pressure off him. And obviously there's developing players like Mings, albeit that he was sent off. And obviously in the middle of the park with Douglas Luiz. So a team in progress, a team who have now got to the point where they must have been playing games for the last 12 months still, thinking, oh, we might just have to just take a point here today, and you can play with fear, and you end up being in the bottom 3 and 4 where they were all season. But they've got themselves in that advanced position now, like a breath of fresh air. They're probably going out to try and win every single game because they can, because they've got enough points in the pocket that allows them to just have a go every single week as opposed to fearing for their lives. I bet the handbrakes come off and you can't half tell.
Jack, when you look at Crystal Palace, they performed miracles against you guys, I believe anyway. They really, really gave you a game and ended getting a point from it. But then they lost 7-0 against Liverpool. They lost 3-0 against Villa, 10 goals conceded in 2 games. Roy Hodgson, he's a wily old fox and he's no mug. And I know people are very quick to criticise the older heads, and I think he's done a fantastic job at Crystal Palace. That being said, I think this is going to be a very difficult time for him. Now, in the past, he's dug them out of the mire. But when you look at the likes of Wilf Zaha, who, again, ran Tyrone Mings ragged, but then after that, didn't really do too much. Eze disappeared. Milivojevic was all over the place. It was a disastrous performance, especially in the second half. Now, I'm not saying that they won't bounce back, but when we talk about Roy Hodgson's long-term future, we know he's not going to be the man to be there in 5 or 6 years' time. Wouldn't surprise me if, and I know Rod's going to laugh at this, but Eddie Howe will probably replace him at the end of the season. That's my honest opinion. He's shaking his head. Listen, why not? He's got good young players. He's good at unearthing talent, isn't he? And Crystal Palace got a good youth system.
Eddie's on the next level. Eddie's on the next
He's
level.
He's not on the next level. No. I'm not having this. I'm gonna boot you out of the chat in a second. None of that rubbish. But Jack, talks about Crystal Palace, man, because again, as I said, against you guys, they were fantastic, especially second half. But what's gone wrong?
I think with our game, if we let them be fantastic, every attack we had, we looked like scoring. But as soon as we did score, we just let them have the ball for some odd reason and got them back in the game. They do, like Steve said, they do have inconsistent players going forward. And with Zaha, when he's good, he's great. He's amazing. But you're not going to get that out of him, not even for an entire 90 minutes.
Do you think that's why Arsenal didn't sign him then?
Probably, yeah. I think his numbers this season are pretty good, actually. Is it 8-9 goals that he scored this season? His goal contributions have been pretty good, but
Kojo's probably sitting there thinking, listening, saying, "Stat padding, stat padding."
He on his day, absolute top, class player. But again, for a 28-year-old, you're expecting some level of consistency, and I know it is hard when you're playing at Palace, but there's a lot of parties at fault with that one, with the contract situation and the price tag and whatnot. But I think players like Eze, who've been brilliant in the Championship, again, taking that step up in the Premier League, it's going to take a bit of time. I don't think you should bank on him yet, if you're a Palace fan. But they do have, at the back, they're not solid at all. And when you do get at them, you can really get at them. And that's the biggest frustration with us a couple of weeks back when, approaching the game against a team that is struggling and letting them back in the game, even though every attack you have could lead to a goal. But yeah, I think sometimes with managers it can run its course, and I don't know what the manager's lifespan is these days. It tends to be 3-4 years max, it seems, but in the Premier League at least. But I guess they will have to move on at some point, but I think they will be fine this season. I think they'll have enough quality on the pitch to keep them up at this point. I think there is a bit of a dip of form, but they have had difficult fixtures of late.
Well, without sounding facetious, Roy Hodgson is 73, so I'm not sure about that lifespan you're talking about there. But... Right, final game, because I don't want to talk about Southampton, Fulham. That ended 0-0. Nothing really to say about that. But West Ham drew 2 against Brighton, Steve. David Moyes decided to go with 5 at the back. Kind of fortuitous equaliser at the end from Souček. I know West Ham fans are quite on the fence with David Moyes, but the fans that are very excited about West Ham, that believe they should be playing a certain way, aren't convinced about this manager. Let's be honest, it's a good result.
It's a good result. If he can take something from every game, because it's been a lot worse for them. It's been a lot worse for David Moyes and them together as a partnership. So he's come back to the club. He's not old, he's mature, he's experienced. But what he has done, he's made it no thrills. He's settled everything down. He's made them hard to beat first before anything else. He's not throwing games open and then trying to get something from that point. And he's found a formula that works. So it'd be foolish to stray away from that now. Antonio plays out of his skin. Souček, obviously, also plays out of his skin. Noble runs his legs off. But I think West Ham United, early days, Trevor Brooking, later years, Payet, people like that, Eyre Berkovic, you'll help me with a few, I'm sure, but they've always had a maverick. Alan Devonshire, of course, and the supporters, they are proper football supporters. And we go back even further to the World Cup lads, but they just feel that they've not got any maverick talisman anymore. They're hardworking, they dig in, they make sure they're hard to beat, and they go for a 0-0 first and foremost and try and get something out of the game. And they've grafted a 2-2 there, and it just shows their character at the moment. And if you want to go there and get entertained, it's probably not going to happen. They have foreign players who have skill, but not like they've had in the past. But I think at West Ham, Shrewdy would tell us, but they've had maverick players in the past that have been in losing teams. This is a team that's winning and drawing games at the moment. So I don't see how David Moyes will change, not as he's got this opportunity now to manage this club again, and he's not actually suffering like he has done in the past. He's likely to think that it's all going well. So I don't expect it to change.
Rod, no coincidence, no fans in the stadium, no defeat for West Ham.
Yeah, I just find that just coincidence because.
Come on.
It is like Steve says. He's settled down. He's an experienced manager. He knows what team he wants. He knows how his team wants to play. He's not a frills and spills manager. He's nice and solid. Can we nick a 1-0? Keep it tight. So Yeah, just fine. But I think if the fans were there, then maybe with a negative feeling, that's why they're getting bad results, because it feeds into the players, and it probably helps them not being no fans. Because let's face it, it's a totally different arena. The stadium we play at now, Upton Park, was tight. The fans are on you. It's a different feeling now. So I just think it's coincidence. I really do. So just because, like I say, he's settled down now. He's got, Mike Stez has just mentioned, he's got no thrill players, no flair players. They're all hard working. They're all good on the ball. He's got goal scorers with Antonio and the other kid up front. And he's got a solid back four and a decent keeper. So, yeah, that's just fine coincidence. He's 22 points. What is he? 22 points. He's the 10th, 4 or 5 points off top four. You can't grumble with that.
Oh, we'll talk
what,
again.
what the West Ham want? They're not going to get the frilly Joe Cole tricks and spills. That doesn't that.
But it's the same we said about Newcastle. What do these fans expect?
No, but I think West Ham's different because I don't want to be disrespectful,
more history.
But I don't want to be disrespectful, but living in Newcastle and living in London is a totally different experience.
Oh, there was I think you're going to say that West Ham have got more history. They've won more trophies. They won the World Cup in 66.
Well, and there's that, but in London it's a nice what's nice area, nice heat, nice weather.
Have you been to Stratford?
No, but I mean, but let's face it, they're not living in Stratford, the players, are they?
Well, they're probably in Potter's Bar or Epping or.
Yeah, well, they're not living in Hackney or wherever.
No, there's nothing wrong with Hackney.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Where Newcastle, in the winter, you're getting chased off penguins. It's freezing. So it's just a total different. Yeah, but West Ham is a bit more history. They've won more. Newcastle, yeah, it's just a myth. All that crap. To be honest. It is though. They haven't won anything
Rod is on Twitter at Rod James Giggs, Newcastle fans.
They haven't won anything for years. The closest it's ever been was 1997, 96, 5.
Well, they got to the cup final in 99.
Yeah, but we beat them easily.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's wrap it up with one more thing, gents. FC Schalke, that German team? Jack, do you know what's happened there?
Christian Gross
has been appointed their 4th manager of the season. Christian Gross, the guy with the train ticket. Yeah, the tube ticket. Yeah, he's been appointed their 4th manager this season. They had David Vargan at the beginning of the season, who was at Huddersfield. Then another fella that replaced him at Huddersfield. And they had Hoops Stevens, and now they brought in Christian Gross. And I don't know if you've seen the photograph of Christian Gross. It looks like he's a drug addict. It looks like he's just gone into rehab. So I don't know what's going to happen at that club. But Christian Gross, yeah, he's back in football. So this will be interesting. Jack, I'm sure you got some great memories about him. 10 months at Spurs, man. Come on. Good 10 months.
It was slightly before my time, but I mean, back then he wasn't. There wasn't.
That was so weird that in that press conference when he pulled his tube ticket out. Don't you remember that? It was so weird.
Well, I guess he was trying to embrace the London culture. He didn't pull out a gun at least, which I think was a good thing.
More like just there, come on a black cab instead of a tube ticket. Cabby. It just felt like weird with his. Yeah, like come on tube, like right. What does that mean?
He doesn't last more than a year for any club he is at, apart from Basel. It was the past 10 years for 10 years.
By the sound of the chairman, he doesn't like managers staying long time either.
Oh yeah, 4 months.
Oh well. Anyway,
how can you build a team in 3 or 4? It's just ridiculous.
I think they're expecting a new manager bounce every month, and it's just not. I think at some point you just got to give up.
He's been bouncing off something. I'll tell you this for now, looking at his picture. Anyway,
Yeah.
gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a great show again. Jack, thanks for making your debut. Hopefully we'll have you back on again, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on, man. It's good to be on. Listen to every.
He's cheered up anyway at the start. It felt like someone had died at the start of it.
Oh, you just reminded me of the game again. Damn it.
Do you want to plug anything before I let you go, mate?
Yeah, just follow me at THFC Jak, which is spelled JAK, and follow us at Touchline Hotspur, which is at Spurs_touchline.
Great stuff. Rod?
Rhodri Giggs.
How's the golf going?
I haven't played this week. I haven't played for about a week.
Oh, no wonder you're so jittery.
Still a 6 handicap and pal.
Great stuff. Steve, you going to make any more appearances on the BBC anytime soon?
I don't know, mate. I don't know, maybe, but if invited, I would. But I really enjoy coming on with you and the lads. And great to meet Jack tonight. Good London knowledge. You can always phone us, Jack, if you're ever in that position, in that dark place again, following your football team. It's tomorrow's a new day, Jack.
Oh, I'd like to think so. I'd like to think so, Steve.
There you go. 5 more days will be New Year. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, that's it for us this week. We're on Twitter at Shoot Defense. We also have an Instagram, which I don't use that much. So anyway, don't follow us on there. So until next time, take care.
Stel.
Peace.